What's up, everybody? It's Spencer Alessi, and this is the Esports Narrative. This is episode 12, and today I'm talking with Austin Sanchez. Austin, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
Hey, appreciate it. It's going pretty good, man. Yourself?
Good. So Austin is a graphic designer and the chief design officer for Ambition Gamers. Is that right?
Yes, that is just of recent.
Nice. And Ambition Gamers, if you're not familiar with who they are, they're a North American esports organization that competes in Rocket League, PUBG, Paladins, and you have probably seen his work on Twitter. He's been designing concept graphics for Rocket League cars for a bunch of different organizations like Splice, Cloud9, Envious, Flipside, a number of different ones. They're really awesome. Definitely check them out on Twitter. Go to his Twitter profile and check them out if you haven't seen them already. They've been hugely popular, and that's what I just want to ask you first, Austin, is what has it been like for you the last few days with the popularity of your Rocket League car designs?
Man, it's been ridiculous. Popularity kind of went from basically just nothing to where I did nothing with those type of things, and then posted one design and it kind of just blew up. So it's been kind of ridiculous.
Now, is there anybody else designing Rocket League cars, and how did you get into designing the graphics on the cars?
So, besides me that is doing it, I have not seen anyone really doing the same ideal as me. I've seen people do, modding and such. But other than that, I haven't really seen anyone doing the same style or anything like that. Other than that, I kind of just got into it because I'm a big fan of Rocket League, don't get me wrong. Play that game nonstop. So I thought that, well, if I can do design, and I enjoy the game so much, that I would just make, designs for the teams that I enjoy to watch. So, just thought I would throw that out there.
Awesome. Yeah, they're really cool. When I first saw them and saw the popularity of them, and then ESL retweeted them, they're really super cool. So if you haven't seen them, listeners, definitely go check it out. Now, how did you get into the esports scene, and how did you get into graphic design?
So the esports scene, me getting into that was pretty recent. I was always kind of in the, this COD sniping scene for a while, and probably within the last few months, say 3 or 4, I started working for a company called Atria, and that was my first, official esports type of, it wasn't necessarily a team, but rather just kind of organization. And so from working for them, I was reached out to through Ambition, and they said that, well, we like your work, so we'd definitely love to have you on there. So I kind of moved over to them and started moving towards esports type designs, and I guess it went over pretty well. Popularity was fairly okay, never to the extent it is now, but yeah. Graphic design wise, I've been doing this now for, I would say, give or take about 5-6 years.
Nice.
So I've been doing it for quite a while. Taught myself, basically just grab Photoshop. Actually started off in GIMP. If you do you know what that is?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so GIMP, terrible program. Not gonna lie, it's really hard to...
Their UI is, gross. It's like everything's all over the place. It's like, what do I click?
Exactly. But it was a lot simpler than Photoshop, obviously, because it's a lot more intricate in Photoshop. So I saw Photoshop, and I was like, well, I guess I'll give this a try and see how it works. So I got Photoshop for the first time and kind of just started learning the program from there, starting off with terrible designs, just god-awful designs, but just slowly starting to figure out little simple tricks and fixes, and kind of just looking up to some higher-up people that I admired, and kind of took some tips from them, and just slowly built my way up into more of a fan base for my graphic design.
Mm. Now, you've been around the video game scene for a while, but I'm curious to know, what does esports mean to you? If you had to describe it to someone, how would you define esports?
So esports to me would be basically just a collection of people that are very, very, skilled at gaming in general. The scene itself is something that's so great because it gives us these gamers that, have found so much fun in that, an outlet to basically make a career of something like gaming, which is not really thought of. So esports itself is just, I would say it's an outlet. It's something that people can enjoy and make something great of themselves in the process.
That's really interesting. I haven't heard of it described as an outlet before. That's an interesting perspective for sure. Now, I always like to take the listeners on a little bit of a journey with the ups and downs of someone's career or their career so far. So tell the listeners, share with us, what's been one of the worst moments for you so far, or kind of a letdown moment for you in your career?
So one of the worst moments I would say is maybe, I think it was about 2.5, maybe about 2 years ago actually, that I was doing nothing. I was not in a team. I could not join any team to save me. I was not the best designer. But that was kind of my learning process. But still, it was just kind of hard because I felt that no one appreciated the work that I was putting in, because putting in so much work into something that I enjoyed so much, and to get no recognition, it kind of sucks. But it's okay. It's kind of, I'm making it to where people will enjoy it. And so I would say that was kind of one of the harder times, because that lasted for a while to where I was just not in a team whatsoever. And that was from 2 years ago is whenever I joined my first team. So I would say from, 2 years before that, for an entire 2 years, I was doing no teamwork, nothing like that, just kind of trying to build up myself and work for these people, but no one really acknowledged my existence. So, yeah, that was kind of one of the hardest times.
And what did you take away from that, or what did you learn from that, and how did you grow past that?
So, what I took away from that is that even though if you're not in a team and such, you can still always sit there and better yourself. And in those moments, even though it sucks and it's a bit harder, you're doing it for yourself. You gotta show that you're actually in it to enjoy it, because in those moments, it's rather than, doing it for a pay or doing it to have these fans see it and such, you're doing it for yourself because you love doing it. So if I, say in that time figured out that I just started hating it and I just gave up, then I feel that just shows that wasn't a career for me. It wasn't a thing that I would want to move into. So since it worked out and I actually pursued it, it shows that I definitely had a passion for it.
Did you find that you were trying to appease somebody else, or you weren't really focusing on what you were passionate about, and then when you made that switch to doing what you wanted to do, things kind of did change for you?
Definitely. Whenever I was starting off, I was definitely trying to make it to where I was getting up to this big fan base, and I wanted to be this big star because I saw these designers doing all these crazy things. And I was like, oh, this looks like a crazy way to do things, and I would love to be doing that. So I tried really hard to do it just for others, and it didn't work out. I wasn't happy with it. I felt forced. But once I later on slowly started doing things to where I enjoyed it, I made a lot of styles that a lot of people would even work on now and have used off of my reference, because it was something that I made personally, not just to appease and kind of go along with what everybody else was doing. So, that definitely made it a lot better on my design even.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in that you should, whatever it is, whatever your art is, whether it's making music or graphic design or whatever your passion is, I'm a firm believer that you should do what you want to do or create what you want to do, and there will no doubt be someone who likes it. It might not be, world famous, or you might not get the popularity of other things, but it's what you love, and that's the most important thing.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. So whenever you have those people that, it's good to feel appreciated, don't get me wrong, but if you're doing it because you appreciate it and you're just having fun, that makes it all that much better. Yeah.
Now, transitioning a little bit, tell us, what is your biggest accomplishment so far? What's the thing you're most proud of so far?
So far, I would say honestly, with this recent success with the Rocket League things, that would definitely be my biggest accomplishment. Because it's blown everything out of the water with how much everything's grown and how much love that people put out there for just the designs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So
do you find it's a source of like credibility, or it's a source of validation that what you're doing, your art, your designs are kind of affecting people, or they're being noticed in a way that people are praising them?
Yeah, most definitely. I've definitely realized that a lot of people will sit here and still try to bash me and say like, oh, well, so for example, a lot of my designs have been kind of the same. Well, in the beginning, it was a lot of the same Rocket League, like car example, picture. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's the same thing over and over again. But I was rather doing it for just making it to where the fans of these different teams can enjoy the same thing. So whenever I would see these people try to bash me and say, oh, that's terrible, you can't be doing the same thing, you're not putting any work in, I didn't really mind that, because it was something that I was enjoying making, plus, I was making these people happy, because there would be fans of, say, like, Flipside Tactics or whatever. They would be like, oh man, I love this so much, like, I'm so glad that you made it for this team, and that's the best feeling, because you made someone's day, and you can make them happy.
How do you handle the trolls? How do you handle the negative feedback?
With me, honestly, I'll kind of explain why I did the thing, and if they keep trying to troll and kind of give that negative feedback, I'll kind of just, brush it off, and I'll be like, hey, I appreciate your feedback, because, all criticism is, it's constructive. So even if it's something to where some guy's trying to troll me, even though it may not be the most constructive to most people, it still is something to where someone had their outlook on it, and that's them. Like, you can't change other people's opinions. So if that's how they felt about it, that's their happiness, I guess. So if they're having fun doing it, so be it. But for me, I sit there and just say, I appreciate you taking the time to even look at it. So, you know what? That's fine with me.
Yeah. And on a previous episode, I talked with James Chen, the FGC commentator, historian, streamer, really popular in the fighting game community. And he said kind of the same thing. He said that you don't want to block everyone that disagrees with you or has negative feedback, because then you only have good feedback. People are only saying yes to you or praising you. You kind of have to, what he mentioned was you kind of have to have some of that negative feedback to kind of keep you in balance of the people that are super optimistic versus the people that are maybe have some more negative / constructive feedback.
Yeah, because those people that are more negative are more genuine, it seems, in most scenarios. Not all scenarios, but in most scenarios, they're more genuine, because they're not just going to sit there and suck up to you and say, oh man, you're amazing, just because they see that something's growing. If they have their opinion, they speak it, good on them, because they actually, against everybody else, they're saying how they believe in it. So, that's really good.
Why is esports so exciting?
Esports. It's exciting because it's something that I've played games since, the age of 4 on the computer and such. And so just watching esports, it's so exhilarating, because you get to see these teams that are so superior at the game playing at such a crazy level to where you wouldn't even imagine being that good, or even seeing things that crazy. So esports, it's crazy to see how people can work around a game and how they can learn to play a game differently than most people to better others. And it's kind of just people always rising to the top, and then they eventually fall, and then there's another team that comes up. So it's always changing. There's never the same team at the very top. Understand there are a top 3, top 5 teams, but it's always changing. So it's always more exciting. And then, a lot of these times you'll see these things like Counter-Strike. They'll come down to the very last second where it's a nail biter, and it's it gets exciting because you have a passion for that game, so it just makes it all that much cooler.
Mm-hmm. Now this is the part of the show I call the 5-question combo breaker. It's the button mashing section of the show.
Okay, all right.
What's the best advice someone has ever given you?
The best advice that someone has ever given me was, like I even said before, it's just you have to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, then you're just going to sit there and be miserable and just trying to please everyone else. So definitely try to enjoy what you're doing, because, like I said, if you don't, then you're just not going to be happy ever.
What do you think the esports industry needs to continue to grow and be successful?
Positive sponsors, but sponsors that aren't, triumphing everything and taking over to where it doesn't make it feel like esports, because, you'll see a lot of these, massive esports kind of taking over with sponsors, and it kind of sucks because it takes away from a lot of the fun for some people, because there's a lot of these different ad placements that it'll get in the way of a lot of things, and that kind of makes it difficult. But as well, you just need to keep all these really positive people. There's been a lot more toxic people that'll come in and get praised because they're someone that sits there and yells at people. We need to move away from that, honestly. It's like, understand, myself, I sometimes get toxic, don't get me wrong. Like, playing video games, like, I get mad. But we need to definitely not have it to where these idols of esports professionals are toxic, because it's not constructive.
Mm-hmm. What's the best play you've ever seen, or the most memorable moment for you in esports?
The most memorable moments. Man, that's a hard one, actually. Definitely would have to be. I can't remember what team they were against, but I think it was the Olfmeister boost on what map was that? Overpass on CS:GO. To where they completely had this groundbreaking boost to where they destroy the other team massively. And I may be wrong on which teams, but just that whole game in general, I kind of remember, just not sure about teams. But yeah, they basically did something to where it was almost, I guess, cheating, but this was for like a grand final. So they won because of a simple boost that no one knew about. So that's
it was either
example.
Overpass or Kabul. I know that the crouch jump you're talking about, the exploit where you can, as the person who's performing the jump, can see, but like the other side can't see the helmet or your head jumping up. And, yep. There's been a world of conflict because of that.
Yeah, no, definitely, and they've even commemorated, and it was Overpass. I'm certain because it was on CT side. Yeah, they have now a spot like on the map to where they have a like graffiti mark showing like the boost or like kind of explaining what it was. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it was near the box towards mid, I think.
Towards mid. It's like, what is it? I think they call it like Transformer, or like the big truck semi thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was definitely a memorable moment for me for sure.
Share a very valuable resource, person, place, or thing, or something else that's been beneficial to you in your design career.
So a person, place, or thing. There have been multiple people that I've aspired to kind of do not really do, but how they do design, I guess, or how they portray it. They do it, like I said, for themselves. So, I would say there's, now his name is just Wismer, but his old name was Sorwiz. He was the lead designer for Sor for the longest time. And he was just always keeping positive, always, very appreciative for what he has. And he would always, drop. I started talking to him in my early stages. This is a long time ago, so I had no idea. I was terrible at design. So he still, even though he was really good, he would look at my designs and still give me opinions, even though he's this big guy in SOAR and probably has, hundreds of kids asking, oh yeah, how do I work on this? How can I get help on this? He still took the time to go back to those smaller people and kind of help them out. So that's definitely someone that's been, more of that.
How did it make you feel that somebody like that you looked up to was able to reach out and extend help or mentorship to you?
Oh, I was ecstatic. He, messaged me the first time, and, I had my little fanboy moment. And, I kind of freaked out and thought it was the coolest thing. But then just to kind of see how genuine he was one of the coolest things, because it was just like more of a personal experience. So I was definitely appreciative.
Mm-hmm. What's been one daily habit for you that's been a big factor for you getting to this point in your career?
Oh man, a daily habit. I always try to learn at least, bare minimum 2 to 3 things in Photoshop whenever I open it. So before I close it, I have to have learned how to alter an image a certain way or do something new style-wise. So if I can't figure that out, then, I'll get frustrated. I'll definitely take a break, but I will come back and try to learn something new. So I'm always trying to learn something new. Knowledge is power. So that's how I've always kind of lived by.
And Is that something that you've just developed recently, like in design? Like, how did you come about that habit? Like, where'd you learn that habit, or where'd you pick up on that habit?
So basically just, I've always had that mentality that, like I said, knowledge is power. So having knowledge is something great. And if you're learning always, you definitely, I would say, almost will be happier because you are figuring out a lot more things. So with me, learning is so much fun. School is a different matter, of course. But if you're learning more things and something that you enjoy, then that's just kind of a great feeling. So I guess just ever since the beginning, I've always just thought that if you're learning, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, that's really great advice. You can learn a lot about yourself just by trying to learn something new every day.
Definitely, yeah.
Now, we'll close out the show with you giving us your perspective on what it takes to be successful in esports or in video games as a designer, and tell us a little bit about some things that someone who's brand new, maybe they haven't even produced a couple designs yet or logos. Tell us something that somebody brand new could do to help them get started, get noticed, and get going on developing their skills in design.
Definitely. So with me personally, starting off, it was always looking at these other people and learning off of these different designers. So if you can take the time to research these other designers and look at what they're doing, usually they're at their place that they're at for a reason. Definitely you want to be your own type of person and figure out how to make your own style, but in the beginning, you kind of want to see what they're doing because they have to be doing something right. So if you sit down and learn their certain styles and stuff, don't just try to, take it, but kind of learn little tricks that they've kind of tossed in there. That definitely helps so massively. And as well, just it's practice. Practice is something that you will just need to keep doing, even though it gets frustrating and you're like, oh man, well this is terrible. It's not the best thing ever. Well, it's not going to be. Even to this point, you'll see that I will make things that I will completely hate them, and you're never happy. If you truly have an aspiration for art, I tell you now that most people that you ask will tell you that you will never truly love what you have made. And there'll be a lot of people that will disagree with that and say, oh, well, yeah, if you're having a passion for that, you definitely have to love it. Well, you love doing it, but you're never going to feel that it's perfect. So, just keep practicing. And the more practicing you do, the better you'll get. And you'll eventually get to a point where you will, semi-enjoy what you do, but you'll never, perfectly love what you do. So, just don't let that deter you. Keep on going and kind of figure it out because, you can make some great things. And even if it's not hundreds to thousands of people enjoying it, there's definitely going to be at least 1 to 2 people that relate to it bare minimum. So, and that's okay. Everyone has to start somewhere. So me, I started at the very bottom, nothing. And, I started communicating with some people that were bigger in esports that, were, idols to me, and just like other fans of esports, and getting to communicate with these people, it made it all that much more enjoyable on the way through, just talking to these other, gamers, because they're definitely very positive people. There can be toxic people. There's a lot of very positive people in the esports community. So just kind of talking with these other people and learning, things slowly definitely helps. And yeah, that's kind of all I can really say.
Yeah, that's really great advice. I appreciate you sharing that because I know it's going to be super valuable for someone who is just getting into esports or somebody that's, got a couple of years under their belt even. I think that'll be really valuable advice.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Austin, so much for coming on the show and sharing your esports narrative with all of the listeners. It's been super awesome to talk with you, and you've provided a lot of advice and good, valuable lessons for us here today. So just want to really just say I appreciate you coming on and taking some time for us.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you inviting me on here. I've definitely had a blast, and I was looking forward to this, so I've definitely enjoyed it the entire way, and I'm glad that I can help out a few people if I can. So yeah, definitely appreciate it.
Thank you. And with that, just want to remind everyone that if this all goes as planned, this show is just the beginning.
Thank you, listeners. I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a rating on iTunes. I would love a 5-star, but if you think I deserve a 1, let me have it and tell me why. And tell me why. And tell me why. And tell me